Is the eruption of the Phlegraean Fields imminent? The situation at the volcano near Naples is becoming increasingly serious, and many residents have heard mysterious noises before the latest earthquakes. Stay tuned to the end for the original recordings. Welcome, friends! Here's a rough summary of the situation. The area around Naples was shaken by a whole swarm of earthquakes at the beginning of last week. Initially, on Monday evening, several relatively strong tremors had residents worried, especially in Pozzuoli, the town to the west of Naples where a large part of the Campi Phlegrae is located. You can walk directly from the train station to the crater and admire the volcanic gases, as you can see here in my photo from January. Truly an incredible sight. On Tuesday evening, the quake reached its peak with a magnitude of 4.4. It was the most violent quake since earthquakes have been recorded in the region with instruments, and the fear of a possible eruption is now correspondingly high. And now this. Shortly before the earthquakes, many residents in the region heard a very mysterious noise, and some, like Carlo Migliore, even uploaded it to YouTube. Listen to it.
Questa supera abbondantemente il 4,
I've also noticed it a few times in the past, for example with this TikToker here who reports daily from Pozzuoli and uploaded this a few weeks ago.
L'avete sentita qua giù? Speriamo che dal telefono si è sentita. Comunque sto ai Campi Phlegraei.
Write me in the comments what your thoughts would be if you heard a sound like this just before an earthquake. I'd probably think the earth was opening up and dark demons were pouring out of the infernal fissures or something, but as always, there is a scientific explanation. The sounds heard before and during an earthquake are the result of seismic waves traveling through the ground. These waves create vibrations that are then converted into sound waves when they reach the surface. You can imagine that the ground behaves like a giant loudspeaker that transmits the seismic vibrations to the air, making them audible. A giant loudspeaker fed by powerful magmatic activity underground. Logically, this can get pretty loud. Patrizia Tosi, a scientist at the INGV Volcanology Institute, describes it like this. This noise is due to the vibration of the ground. The transmission is facilitated by factors such as the presence of mountains nearby. Incidentally, this effect has been known since ancient times. Even the Roman philosopher Seneca said, "Antiquam terra moveatur solet moitus euderi." Fortunately, I studied Latin at school and therefore know that this translates as "before the earth moves, a rumbling can usually be heard." So it's really about the rumbling before the actual earthquake noise. And now it gets really interesting. You may have noticed in Carlo's video that he comforts and calms his dog, even though nothing was audible to our ears at the time. How can this be explained? The first seismic waves to arrive, so-called P waves, are sometimes more difficult to perceive as vibrations than the seismic waves that arrive later. These later, slower, so-called S waves can then produce an audible noise. The perception of these sounds depends heavily on the exact frequencies of the sound waves generated. Earthquakes usually generate sound waves in the audible frequency range, mostly in the lower range, but animals have different perception thresholds than we do, which is why pets, which often have much more sensitive hearing than us humans, can sometimes run away in fright seconds before the start of the shaking that we can perceive, because they already perceive vibrations or sounds of the waves that are hidden from our ears. And that's why I find Carlo Migliore's video fascinating, because you can see perfectly how his dog has already smelled the roast, so to speak, and has served as a kind of earthquake early warning system. Let me know if you've also had experiences like this with pets that have detected things that remain hidden to us humans. And it wasn't just noises that puzzled local residents during the quake this week, but also the behavior of a lake near Pozzuoli, the Lago D'Averno. Here too, someone made a video in which we can clearly see that the lake is bubbling. Volcanic bubbles rise to the surface. Take a look. A similar phenomenon can be observed in Germany, namely at Lake Lac. Small CO2 bubbles, so-called moffetts, on the eastern shore of Lake Lac indicate ongoing magmatic processes. These gases escape from great depths and show that volcanism in the Eifel has not died out at all. Lago D'Averno probably has a similar cause, although it does not bubble by default, but only after high activity of the Campi Phlegrae. Volcanic gases that were previously under the lake were probably released here due to the current strong earthquakes. Depending on the amount, this can even be dangerous. Someone wrote under the video on Instagram, "It's better to stay away from this lake. If what comes out is carbon dioxide, it's dangerous." Years ago, a carbon dioxide bubble was released from a volcanic lake in an African country, and people and animals died within, I can't remember exactly, 500 meters of the lake. The commentator is presumably referring to Lake Nyos in Cameroon, where a catastrophe did indeed occur in 1986, with large quantities of carbon dioxide escaping from the lake and killing around 1,700 inhabitants of the surrounding villages. It goes without saying that the danger at Lago d'Averno is that high, but a little caution certainly doesn't hurt, especially knowing that one of the most active and dangerous volcanoes in Europe is lurking underground. So the situation remains serious, but I can say one thing: since I was in Naples in January and spoke to the people from the INGV in person, I know that they really take their job very seriously and are doing everything they can to protect the population, which can reassure you a little. I was particularly impressed by a conversation with volcanologist Fabio Sansivero, who explained to me why he loves his job so much. Finally, do you want to tell us what you particularly like about your work as a volcanologist?
It's a passion, and I think it's pointless to do a job if there's no passion behind it. Becoming a volcanologist is a long, difficult path, and it's not easy to get a job as a researcher. You earn very little for a long time, even if you show a lot of personal commitment. As an aeronautical engineer, you can easily earn twice as much. But as I said, I wouldn't want to do any other job. I wake up every morning and go to work with a smile on my face. Sure, it's not always rosy, but then I imagine that what I do benefits the community. After all, monitoring an active volcano is essential, especially in areas as densely populated as here. The role of me and my colleagues and the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology is to work with the volcano and provide information for the protection of the population, everything to guarantee the safety of the people here.
As soon as something happens, new earthquakes occur, or even an eruption is imminent, I will keep you up to date immediately. Of course, this is only possible if you follow my channel, so everyone subscribe diligently. Other volcanoes are also frighteningly active at the moment, all over the world in fact. In Iceland and Indonesia, we have just had violent eruptions. In Italy now, the Campi Phlegrae, and even in the Eifel, researchers have found something slightly worrying about the Lacher Sea volcano. I've explained everything in the video below, so if you want to delve deeper into the subject of volcanoes, then click on it. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, friends.